When you claim your Africanness, you're going to get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Black and I'm proud. When you claim your Africanness, you're going to get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Claim your Africanness. Black and I'm proud. I'm telling you. When you claim your Africanness, you're going to get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Claim your Africanness. Black and I'm proud. I'm telling you. When you claim your Africanness, you're going to get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Claim your Africanness. Black and I'm proud. I'm telling you. Become a part of it. Embrace it. 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 When you claim your Africanness, you're going to get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Claim your Africanness. Black and I'm proud. I'm telling you. When you claim your Africanness, you're going to get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Claim your Africanness. Black and I'm proud. I'm telling you.
Peace and power, family. Dr. Daw back in the building. We got a special guest in the building today, y'all. You know, he's like the special guest, the what do they call it? Cause when you are featured, when you're always on the panel, he's a featured analyst or what have you.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
ain't too special, but that's okay. That's cool.
You know, yeah, all the those who have the best of us always downplay themselves, but nonetheless, family, we are going to slow some things down today, and we want you to join us. Thanks for joining us. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to both platforms, brother. Proper perspective, the proper perspective. Make sure you go over there and watch some videos that he has going on. I'm saying, if you want to speak to the ZANU topic, if you want a very insightful perspective on the ZANU topic, I am telling you, one of the best, if not the best, I'm going to say the best I've heard to date, the most accurate, fair, balanced, and all those things is over there on Proper Perspectives platform. Maybe we'll bring that talk over here. Maybe we'll digest that together as well, because I think it deserves some nuance. And it's so interesting, I tell you, because is that I really appreciate your mind, and I really appreciate how you frame things. Because like he and I don't even really talk about these things, but when we come together, I don't know that it be working out. You know what I mean? You know,
right.
It works out like that. You know, nonetheless. What I want to say is, family, go ahead again and like this video, share this video, thumb it up, and we're gonna go ahead and get started today. But proper perspective, Professor Shabazz, go ahead and talk to the people.
Let me see. What do we? Well, I mean, yeah, you know, you're right about, you know, it's funny. It's kind of funny sometimes because we don't necessarily talk about these things, but then when we link up, it's like, oh yeah, did you check that out? Oh yeah, I heard about them. And what you think? And yeah, and it's like, well, yeah, we end up like right around in that same little ballpark. But that's like, you know, it's the power of being conscious, of being woke, African-centered. You know, you study and you just become aware, and it's one of the reasons why, you know, at least for me, you know, when you hear certain opinions getting floated around out there, and you already know, like if you know that somebody is not telling the truth because you know what the truth is, then yeah, the red flags go off. Absolutely. And so you just like, well, yeah, we gotta talk about that. Something needs to be addressed in some kind of way.
Absolutely. And I promise you that we're going to try to get through this today, and we're going to try to move expeditiously through this, because this is a 101 class, Professor Shabazz. This is a 101 class. Please, is my gain too high, or was it okay?
Now you sound straight to me.
Okay, cool. Because I was on a video last week, and my gain was just a little too high. I mean, when I had our dear brother on last week, who came through and swept the platform clean. I'm saying that brother Diallo Kenyatta, you know, I said, it's kind of like, you know, I grew up around the way, but I wasn't always doing the things around the way. But if something had to go down, I go and get my big brothers, those that from around the neighborhood, to take care of biz. So that was like
True
one of
that.
those things, you know, got Brother Diallo to come through and sweep the space clean. I mean, I didn't even see too many people fighting back. I mean, he came with that bing bam, you know what I mean? So
True that. True
he
that.
said, true that.
Yeah, true that. I saw that one. Yeah.
I see he took us. I mean, these clips that I'm putting up on social media, they're actually doing pretty good. Go over there, family. Follow me on all platforms at Dr. That's Dr. Dennis Ausar Winkler on all platforms, TikTok, Instagram, and of course YouTube, family. And okay, I mean, let's get started. Why don't we just get started? And because be sure to chime in and tune in and fill in and do all those things, because we're gonna go to school tonight. We're gonna educate them like two professors. Well, you know, we're gonna do this together. From an African perspective, this is a dialogue, a dialogical process. This is, you know, we want to see you hit the chat, as Sister Queen says. She says, I forgot what she says, but hit the chat and don't hold back or something like that. But nonetheless, do all the things, you know, jump in the chat and don't hold back. And if you want to come on and you want to build, perhaps we'll let you come on today, but we don't want to mess up the energy. We don't want it. We want people that can add to this, because it's not about beating anything up. It's not about beating people up. It's not about all those things. I know I spoke about that earlier, but yeah, you got to do a little bit of that too. But what I am saying is this is about raising the consciousness of our people. This is about healing our community, and anything that gets in the way of doing that, that is what I am challenging. I am not necessarily challenging the people who believe in their beliefs. I am challenging the ideology itself and the ideologies that have our people confused, sick, and pointing the fingers at each other. And I will continue to speak about most of these ideologies. I mean, this is not just one, this is just one of many. And this one hasn't even made it in academia. I'm saying I'm going for all the ideologies that cause us problems, that misguides us and keep us pointing fingers instead of healing. These ideologies that try to point at other Black African people, and try to fit and utilize these other identity categories such as ethnicity, sexuality, gender, what have you, to cause division, to point the fingers at one another. And the reality is there's not enough evidence, or I mean, you will never find evidence to say that we are the oppressors of each other. You won't find that evidence. You will find evidence that there are oppressors and there's people who are acting as agents of the oppressor, but in essence, but still, they're operating on behalf of the oppressor because their minds are sick. In fact, sometimes it's not even about sickness. It's trying to, you know, you want to get away from the pain. As Brother Diallo said, everybody, and I said that for years too. I mean, people want to be on a winning team. So sometimes, you know, you get tired and you get sick and tired of being sick and tired. You just give up. And I know a lot of our brothers and sisters who joined onto the team in the moniker of FBA. Lots of them mean well. So let's do this. Let's go into FBA Ideology 101. Dr. DAW. I call it the DAW-Down. I think Sister Queen told me something about that. It's the DAW-Down with Dr. DAW. And I'm going to say Professor Shabazz has joined the building. You know what I mean? And so we might as well just add Professor Shabazz here as well. You know what I mean? So I got some things for us. And I say a social science analysis using peer-reviewed theory and primary sources. And what is this about? This is about this idea that this is just a lineage, that FBA is just a lineage. That FBA is just a lineage. Like, oh, so that is the escape clause that they put out there, and they think they're, I don't know, do they think they're smart? Do they really think they're smart, or they just don't understand what they're talking about, and they don't understand who they're talking to? I don't know, but one thing I can say is you're wrong either way. I would rather you be I would rather you be lost than disingenuous. I would rather you be lost than disingenuous. So that's why it's time to teach. But I realize that if you are disingenuous or you there's no waking you up. But this isn't for those who are disingenuous or just hurt. Okay, because it's not only that disingenuous people refuse to wake up. People who have not healed or unwilling to heal or unwilling to look at themselves in the mirror. You know what I'm saying? It is, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to say we got lost somewhere along the line. And I'm saying I don't know how we got off course. I mean, I think we can speculate on, certain people's and personalities and social media and different things have come about. But somewhere along the line, we have gotten off course. So I wasn't going to do that, but I think I'm going to bring an ancestor, an elder, warrioress. In fact, her name she also goes by Sekhmet. And the name was given to her by Khalid Muhammad, if I remember correctly. So I'm going to bring in our dear mama, Sekhmet, to speak to you. And what I'm talking about is just going to build this. Let this serve as libations today. Let this serve as libation from a mind, a beautiful mind that taught and educated us and strive to heal us. So with no further ado, let's do it.
Well, it's physical, psychological, spiritual, and emotional enslavement. And so we have been traumatized, and trauma has an effect upon the mind, the body, and the spirit. And so when they talk about post-traumatic, it's like almost post-traumatic stress disorder. People still have the remnants of being traumatized. And for us, for Africans in the Americas, North and South America, and maybe throughout the entire diaspora, we have been victimized to the degree that many of us want to deny it and abandon it, which is a defense mechanism of post-traumatic slavery stress disorder, in that we oftentimes are unable to manage it. And so when we're unable to manage it, we take the position of putting it somewhere else, denying that it ever happened, and wanting to move on. But you can't move on because the remnants of the victimization have been passed on from generation to generation. We have intergenerational trauma. And so some of the ways that we have learned to cope has been passed on from that time to this time, and will go into some other time, because we've never been without trauma. Part of the problem is that it's not really post for us. It's still present for us. And we're experiencing complex compound trauma, where we're being traumatized up on top of the trauma, up on top of the trauma.
Tell us about examples of that trauma that impacts our daily lives. What do we see?
Well, the language we use, some of us don't even like to be called African. I don't know how much trauma you can get when you're denying who you really are. And some of us begin to look at each other as though we're the enemy rather than we're kith and kin. Many of us live in impoverished conditions, have inadequate nutrition, have schools that are not fit for humans to be involved in, and deal in situations that that defy our humanity, and have a system that has been created from the time we got off that boat to the present time, where our humanity is consistently being denied and determined by others who don't have any respect for us as human beings, who still consider us as property.
So let's look at it from the perspective of parenting. How does post-traumatic slave disorder or these disorder impact us? Examples in parents to child relationships.
Well, I think there's a lot of ways that it impacts, but one of the ways that it impacts is that it creates fear, and it creates fear that passed on to your children, so that many children are not socialized into being assertive and into being aggressive in the context of not negativity, but in the context of going out and getting what you want.
So yeah, Professor Shabazz, proper perspective. What came up for you when you listened to our dear mama, elder, ancestor, Dr. Patricia Newton? And I bring her out. I bring her out to let you know that our ancestors, our elders, they've been saying this long before I've come about. They've been saying this. They've mastered this. I am also showing you this because I'm showing you an elder who considers themselves a Pan-Africanist, an African-centered person, a centered person, and comparing that against what we see today that is trying to tear it apart. But there's so many jewels there, and it speaks to where we find ourselves today. But Professor, what's the deal?
Well, I mean, yeah, I agree with you. It's definitely relevant. It's definitely and it definitely resonates. The idea, you know, the post-traumatic slave syndrome, the post-traumatic stress syndrome. That's very real. I hadn't necessarily personally looked at it as like I've seen it. I see it as a part of why the FBA thing sort of makes sense to people. And for me, it's kind of difficult to. I can't say that I've approached it from the angle of understanding it as a most like I can sort of recognize it. Well, I do personally. I kind of struggle with like I have to remind myself that, you know, just of other quotes, and it's like when you see that people are suffering from this type of thing, or not even suffering, but if they are, when you see them in acting out of that type of pain, then you have to at least try to remind yourself, you know, put the kid gloves on, you know, don't beat them up too hard, because you recognize they're coming from a place of hurt. They're coming from a place of ignorance. One of the things that I always try to remind myself is, you know, the school curriculum itself. I tend to think that a lot of this stuff comes from the fact that as a whole, nationally, you know, citywide, statewide, all across the country, the American educational system is pretty horrible. We get so very little information about who we are in a real sense that it's easy to have that wound. It's easy to, you know, come out of an educational system thinking we really ain't did too much. You know, we haven't made any contributions. We're not anchored in a real Black self-knowledge. And when you lack that, you will, like anybody that tells you, oh no, you know, just like when Marcus Garvey came over and said, up ye mighty race, you can accomplish what you will. And he was speaking to this thing where, you know, if all you know is what appears to be a continued repetition of failure and disappointment, then you just start to think, well, that's what it is. That's how it is. That's how we always been. And so then now somebody comes along and tell you, you know, no, you do actually have more about yourself or whatever. And so that's going to perk you up and make you want to listen. And then the problem becomes when that new introduction of information is coming with a forked tongue, when it's coming with bad vibes, bad intentions, because, you know, they give you 1% truth, 99% falsehood. You ain't going to know this.
Yeah. And I think she speaks to this fear. And I often speak to this when I ask people, when people ask me what trauma is, I say, if we had to break it down on the most basic level, it is one's inability to trust another.
Ooh.
It is the inability to trust other folk. It is a state of being in black, is a black and white state. It's a state that has, you have to have an enemy. And we'll talk about that a bit more when we talk about ideologies. In fact, ideologies and ideologies aren't bad, but they are ideologies that play on our trauma. And that is what I want to remind us of. Dr. Patricia Newton, our elder, mama, ancestor, she said that one of the symptoms of this post-traumatic slave disorder, from her, that's her framing, Dr. Joy DeGruza syndrome.
Right.
And so what happens is, what she said was, the words are essential. She said the refusal to even realize or accept that you're African, or that you evolve, or you descend, or as some say, ascend from Africa and African people. She also speaks to this fragmented way of existing. She speaks about this fear. She speaks about the fear and the combated, the nature of us combating one another, us fighting and infighting and pointing fingers and doing all these things. So what am I fighting for? I'm not fighting against my brothers and sisters. Now, I'm going to be honest. Sometimes you got to put the heavy hand on.
Right.
Sometimes literally. But I'm essentially speaking about verbally right now. Sometimes, even in the counseling room, you have to be skilled. And sometimes you have to hit them. You have to hit them in a way to shock them so that they can become aware again, conscious again. It's kind of like resuscitating them, because sometimes they're so lost and so diluted, you're not getting through. And that is a symptom of trauma. But we're going to talk about this ideology today. We're going to talk about this ideology, which is that doesn't supposedly exist per most FBA discourse, when they say it's just a lineage. And that is what I want us to touch on, because I understand there's different strands of this ideology, or different ideological strands. And there is a primary strand that we should talk about today. There's a grandfather strand. There's a genesis of sorts, where all these other segments or sects have come from. They derive from a primary strand, which we will explore today. So, again, FBA Ideology 101, the DAW-Down with Dr. Daw and Professor Shabazz. A social science analysis using peer-reviewed theory and primary sources. So again, this is a scholarly analysis, not a debate. It applies to social science definitions. It uses primary source material. And I want to say there's a core distinction here that we must keep clear. We must keep clear, and we must be very clear on this. That all identity is politically situated. Let me say that one more time. That all identity is politically situated, but not all identity function as ideology. We must be clear in that. We must be clear in that. So what does that mean? All identity is politically situated, but not all identity function is ideology. There's no identity that exists or that there's not even a need for an identity without some political reason. And we want to talk about political today. And what I mean by political, because we're not talking about electoral politics when we say political. Or at least when I say political, and when many of us say political, we're not talking about you thinking about going to vote. It's not excluding that, but that is not what political is. Political, to be political in essence, is the pursuit of power. How do you achieve it? How do you reach it? What does it take? And yes, it takes an ideology or ideologies. So, Brother Shabazz, proper perspective, please feel free to jump in. If you don't have nothing, you can roll, just jump. I'm talking about you can cut in on me. Don't worry about that. Okay. We can have a conversation, an African-centered conversation. If you come too hard, I'm gonna say, hold up, cuz. If I come too hard, you say, hold up, cuz. But go ahead, you got something?
I feel you. No, I'm kind of laid back just for a hot second, like right now, because I'm trying to process, this thing. I love the statement. I love the opening statement. The one, all ideology is politically situated, but not all identities function as an ideology. So I'm wrapping my head around that, and I'll come back and I'll throw some things up once it is finished circulating.
Okay, and if you see anything, are you able to highlight the comments?
Let me see. I see the dots. It's letting me. I can delete, put user in timeout, or ban. That's the three things.
Okay, well, we need that. You do that at least.
Yeah, we need the wickedness come down the pipe.
Okay, but we'll be nice. We'll be nice today. We're trying to heal our community, not hurt our community. And this ideology, I argue, I posit, I maintain, is to continue to perpetuate the hurt, harm, and pain that has been inflicted upon us by this society. So again, let's move. So now let's look at, I often say that what we call FBA is an identity. And more specifically, it's a Black racial identity. And a Black racial identity is a set of attitudes regarding oneself, other Black people, and other groups. Okay, this is where I put it. I don't put it as what they call a lineage or ethnic group, as they claim. I don't know. I can't see FBA being used. FBA cannot take the space or place of what they call African American. I know lots of us don't even take that. We say African, period, or African in America. But FBA, I will argue and maintain, it would never take the place of African American. And we know who we're talking about when we say African American. At best, FBA is a subgroup within the African American population. And I'll show you why. And I'll tell you why. It's not just a lineage, as they say. They say it's a generic lineage. It describes us and who we are. It helps us delineate from other African people here in this country, from the diaspora or the continent. They might not even want to use the word African or other. They might even want to use the word Black, because to them, to some degree, it's like Black is what we own. They are African and Caribbean, but we're all not African. Sometimes the way they typically in how they articulate this thing, they articulate in a way that African is not something they want to be affiliated with at all. And in fact, they speak about things like they sold us into slavery, and as if even if someone did sell us into slavery, like there wasn't others fighting for us not to be enslaved. So now you sell out all the Africans. You sell out all the Africans. You're not taking consideration that your mother, great-grandmother, and whoever else who you were ripped from was still there. You're not taking into consideration that you still have relatives that miss you on that very continent. You're so hurt. You're so hurt that you're not taking into consideration that your family is still there. Those who did not want to sell you into slavery. We don't know how we got here as far as who did what. We can look at the historical account, and there's a variety of ways people found themselves here. But what I am saying, even if you were sold by another as a part of war or kidnapping from another African, what about the community you were kidnapped from? What about them? What about your auntie? What about your grandmother? What about your great? I mean, I'm saying you got to put the greats in there for me, because I don't know how many greats ago it was. But understand what I'm saying here. How do you turn your back on those who cried because you wasn't there anymore? How do you turn your back on those who are experiencing trauma on the continent because you were robbed and ripped away from them? No matter from who, but how do you, in a way, turn your back on everybody because something happened? See, that is trauma, because trauma does not allow you to see things in nuance. Anything that reminds you of the initial event becomes a threat to you. And that is what FBA is doing. And they do their best at trying to intellectualize it. And they do their best at trying to justify it. And they do their best. And that is what one does when they experience trauma on an individual level. That is what one does when they experience trauma on an individual level. Because anything that reminds you of that initial event is so threatening to your nervous system that you can't see the nuance. You can't see the entire picture. And it's like they all did this to us. So your mind can't even think enough, because of the hurt, the pain, the trauma, to say, you know what? No matter who ripped us away, there was left a hurt community, a hurt family who cried for you. So Black racial identity, again, is a set of attitudes regarding oneself, other Black people, and other groups. So with that, racial identity is plural and variable. There's a variety of ways that Black people show up. I'm talking about those who you identify as FBA. I'm not even speaking to those who have immigrated here. I am talking about FBA. I am not talking about those who've migrated here. FBA, I argue again, is a distinct subgroup identity. I can go with that because it exists, but it doesn't capture all of us. In the way that it's set up, and it doesn't capture all of us because the strong ideological components that make it up. If FBA was a pure lineage, I will be signing up for it. Mm-hmm. If FBA didn't have anti-African sentiment, anti-Caribbean or diasporic black sentiments, I will be signing up for it. No, because you can't really parse it apart. You can't separate it. It's a part of the ideology, the anti-African or black sentiment, even if it's not written. But it's, when people write things and they try to, and it's still coded in a way. Even though they try their best to hide their intent, any good psychotherapist, and I'm calling myself a good psychosocial therapist, because we, on a community level, need some healing. So again, FBA is a distinct subgroup, not an umbrella racial category, a specific subgroup with lineage-based claims. And this is it. And this is the ideological component and political meaning. But whenever there's some political meaning that created it in the first place, and then there's political meaning or a political agenda that it wants to accomplish, but it never, at this point, I'm going to say at this point, at least, because I could never say never, never, but the way that they're going about it right now, it would never be more than a distinct subgroup identity, because you would never sign up for it. And guess what? Pan-Africans already know. No one's claiming that everyone's going to be a Pan-Africanist. That's because we know that is an ideology, and we don't need everybody to bring about that which we will. We only need a critical mass. Brother Shabazz, if you need to jump in, but if you're not,
okay, let me just double up, I guess. What you're pointing out is quite insightful, because what the proponents of the FBA label are trying to do is say, they want to disassociate from the definition, from the understanding of it as an ideology, and just say it's a better descriptive term. That's why we want it over African American. But what they fail to recognize is that if that was all they were doing, if it was literally just, okay, don't call me African American, call me foundational Black American, and then we just keep on moving. There's nothing else attached. There's no opinions attached. There's no thoughts. There's no measuring stick. There's no code that comes along with it. That would be something different. But and sometimes it's like maybe they don't understand that's part of the problem. But even when they do understand that's part of the problem, then they just double down and say, yeah, but you have to agree with the code anyhow. Like, why wouldn't you call yourself FBA? Why wouldn't you agree with the code? And of course you got to have the code. And of course you got to have the label. And so again, that's where, like, yeah, it feels like it's the confusion. But it's like, then it just gets to a point where then it becomes like, okay, now we need your expertise. Is he psychologically confused? Or is he just, caught up in, I guess what we would say, like the religious fervor of the idea and the belief? Just like a Muslim, just like a Hindu, just like a Christian would say, it's not a religion, it's a way of life.
If I had to answer that question, I would say they both are confused. I mean, either way, you're confused.
Indeed. So like, and some of the people in the chat are, I guess they're trying to posit some information.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what does FBA have? What does FBA have the power to enforce? Okay, okay, no, that's a detractor. Okay.
Well, we're gonna get to the ideology. We just getting warm, Professor
Right.
Bass.
Right.
We're gonna use primary resources, primary documentation. We're gonna pull from the master's mouth that doesn't exist. But go ahead.
So yeah, go ahead. Let me
So
I'm gonna troll the track.
You're gonna control the track, control the track, control. Okay.
Do a little bit of both. I'm gonna troll it a little bit, but I'm gonna control it, make sure it don't get out of hand.
All right, family. So I like to say, if you haven't had a chance to view our previous conversation last week with Diallo Kenyatta, here's just a snippet so you can go over there and watch it once you're done with this.
And in fact, let me tell you something. Pan-Africanism is the only movement that has ever threatened our oppressors. And you're looking at a reality in time and history where Pan-Europeanism, Pan-Arabianism, and Pan-Asianism is flourishing. White folks go to Europe and make these international agreements. NATO is Pan-Europeanism. The World Bank and the IMF is Pan-Europeanism. But you're going to fight.
Yeah, so you're going to fight. And ye who has little faith, if they can do it, why can't we be Pan-Africanists? In fact, we are Pan-Africanists. And there's actual Pan-African things happening. There's plenty of it. Pan-Africanism doesn't mean that, like, ideally, I think people think that Pan-Africanism means that, it's sunny days for the rest of your life. That there's no more war going on. There's no more problems in the Black community. No, Pan-Africanism is very clear that we are at war. Pan-Africanists are clear that we are at war. We don't think it's going to be a utopia, but we do want to balance and fight for us. Do we think everybody? No, everybody ain't coming. In fact, we have songs that everybody not going to make it. You know what I mean? So let's get back into more of what we're talking about here. So again, what FBA is not. FBA is not an umbrella racial category. It is not a specific subgroup with lineage-based claims and political. Okay, it is a specific subgroup with lineage-based claims and political meaning. It is not an umbrella racial category. So let's utilize a definition of ideology, because people will say, oh, there's no ideology. You don't have to say that there's an ideology in order for there to be an ideology. No one, like, people will come back years later and say, oh, this is how we framed this. This was an ideology. So an ideology, just a simple definition here, an organized set of beliefs, attitudes, and values that guide meaning and political action. That's just one definition. But there's quite a bit of definitions. You understand what I'm saying? There's lots of definitions for what ideology is. And I'll read some very quickly just to give you an idea about how we can look at this from a social scientific and a social scientific framework or perspective. So the term ideology is used, it says in this article here. In fact, the article is entitled The End of Ideology. So again, there's a variety of definitions. The term ideology is used to stand for an organization of opinions, attitudes, and values, a way of thinking about man and society. We may speak of an individual's total ideology or of his ideology with respect to different areas of social life and politics, economics, religion, minority groups, and so forth. Again, another one. Ideology refers to more than doctrine. It links particular actions and mundane practices with a wider set of meanings, and by doing so, lends a more honorable and dignified complexion to social conduct. From another vantage point, ideology may be viewed as a cloak for shabby motives and appearances. And one thing that came up in my mind was like, are you on code? Are you on code, as they say? Another definition for ideology. An ideology is an organization of beliefs and attitudes and religious, political, or philosophical in nature. Now, let me be clear, because people sometimes struggle when they say, well, it got to be all that. No. It says religious, political, or philosophical in nature. Or means it doesn't have to be every last one of them. Just one of them is enough. That is more or less institutionalized or shared with others, deriving from external authority. Ideology refers to a pattern of gestalts, of attitudes. And that we find is a common day gestalt on social media. What we call FBA. Ideologies, again, are broad and general, pervade wide areas of beliefs and behavior, and give core meaning to many issues of human concern. They unify thought and action. The term political ideology is normally defined as an interrelated set of attitudes and values about the proper goals of society and how they should be achieved. Let's say that again. The term political ideology is normally defined as an interrelated set of attitudes and values about the proper goals of society. Some of the goals could be reparation and how they should be achieved. How do we do it? We delineate. That is perhaps one of the ways that is being argued by FBA. Is it fallacious or not? Do you agree if it's real or not? It doesn't matter whether they're accurate. The reality is that the ideological component is there. And ideology has two distinct and at least analytically separate components: affect and cognition. So again, affect, the way your feelings are presented, your feelings and your cognitions, the way that you think. All of these definitions, even those written by non-psychologists, are psychological in nature, it says here in this document. They conceptualize ideology as a belief system of the individual that is typically shared with an identifiable group, and that organizes. Okay, let me back up and say that a little bit more clearly. They conceptualize ideology as a belief system of the individual that is typically shared with an identifiable group. FBA. I know they want to say they're not a group, but there's no such thing as a group that ain't a group. You can't say that you're an identity or ethnicity or you're a lineage or what have you without, even in their literature, they try to say they're not a group, but how can you be an ethnicity or whatever you call yourself, a lineage, without identifying yourself as a group? In social science, we're not that foolish. We know that you're a group because we can identify you by you calling yourself FBA. We can also identify you by the way that you understand and the way that you project your thoughts, feelings, behaviors, and so on and so forth. So again, as I continue to plebiscite babble, as I know some of you would say, because you don't understand or your elevator doesn't go to the 12th floor, but it stays on the 3rd floor because you got a little something, but you got to get a little more. And the thing is, I'm not saying you can't do it. You can do it. You can do it. You can do it. That's why I'm here, so that we can bring you up to the 12th floor, because I know you can do it, my brothers and sisters. Oh, again, let me continue. That is every definition of an ideological belief system carries with it certain assumptions concerning its degree of cognitive organization. I'm not saying your organization is talking about the way that you organize your thoughts and cognitions. Effective and motivational qualities, your feelings, and how those thoughts and feelings actually pretty much impact the way that you move or act or behave. So those motivational qualities and the capacity for instigating what they call, and this is what I'm saying, action. These assumptions may well be reasonable, but they make clear that the debate about, let me just stop there. All right. So I'm coming back over here, and I just want to give people some thoughts, some ideas, a framework on ideology. And ideology can be abstract. You don't even have to say that you follow an ideology in order for it to be identified as an ideology. Most people don't, just like people don't know they're operating within a culture, they don't know they are operating and following ideology. Many times we think this is how things ought to be. You about to say something there, Professor Shabazz?
No, you're right. So I don't know. It's like I'm looking at some of the comments, and a brother said, "This is too many words for nothing," and I'm just like,
Really?
again, if you just don't understand the words, it's like just like anything else. If you hear something you don't understand, rather than insult it, just say, "Wait a minute, what do you mean?" And then people can, help you get to where it is you need to go.
Mm-hmm.
But I sort of get there. I get the fact that sometimes people don't necessarily know what it means to have an ideology. But again, it's not that complicated if you're open to understanding what it means. You can say, okay, that's too many words. Okay, well then, like in classrooms, they'll be like, okay, well, you tell me what you think I said.
This is just a 101 class.
Right.
This is just 101. If you can't make it past 101, you won't get your certificate or diploma.
Exactly. And I'm like, look, for me, I have taught, I've been into some crazy 101 classes to the point where we had to send them back to the remedial class.
Oh, 85 and 82 and 87.
It's like, okay, yeah, you wasn't ready for this. So, but again, the idea or the fact that an ideology, I don't know why they get so upset when you tell them this is attached to an ideology. And somebody else in the chat was like, we don't care, it's a lineage. And I'm like, you no matter what word you throw up there, whatever word you want to use, you still have to double check the meaning of the word. And if the meaning of the word doesn't sit with what it is you're trying to do, you should be mature enough to say, okay, well, maybe that ain't the right one. Let me keep working. Let me keep moving. But that's not something that they're doing. They can't, because the leader hasn't given them another word.
So let me ask you a question. Was there any support in the chat? See, because one thing I realized about us is that we're cultured. And many times because we love our brothers and sisters, because we've been taught to love us, including the out of order, off code, who always talking about being on code, the off code who's always talking about being on code FBAers. They're always talking about being on code, but the very book they got it out of is would it be indicative that they're off code. And I think I got it over here somewhere. Nelly Fuller will be turning in his dear grave.
Right.
Because
yeah. Well, there definitely are, supporters in the chat. There definitely are people who understand in the chat, and yes, there are the FBA folk in the chat. So
let me do this. Let me try that one out. The new tools. I'll see what's happening over here. Give them a. All right. So we got some supporters in the chat.
Definitely got some supporters, and
we love
they're having some conversations.
Don't beat them up too, family. We're trying to heal them to life, not hurt them, not to heal them to death. We're trying to heal them to life. But we're gonna get back in this, brother Shabazz, proper perspective, Professor. Do you have anything else?
No, I'm good. I'm gonna unleash. Once we get a little.
Okay, we're gonna get to a point where I know you're gonna be unleashing. Don't look. This is just this is just setting the ground. So we almost there to where we're gonna really dialogue about some of this stuff.
Okay.
All right, family. So let's get back to it. And I'm recursive, so I'm going to say an ideology in essence, in short, although I went over all those different let's say variations or definitions of ideology, in short, an ideology is an organized set of beliefs, attitudes, and values that guide meaning and political action. And FBA is absolutely a political movement on various levels. They seek to get the crumbs from master while selling everybody else out. They seek to do it by any means necessary. They don't seek African liberation or African sovereignty. They seek the crumbs of master, and they want to make sure nobody else gets their crumbs. They seek it because they say, you know what, that FBA, that Afrikan-centered or that what is it, Pan-African stuff is not real. It's idealistic. We cannot achieve that. We have to be at the footstools of our masters. So we might as well take our position in this world because there's too much evidence from them in their minds that says that we are to be second or third grade citizens, or maybe I don't even know what level, but real low under the white race, because we believe in this idea of race, it seems, FBA, because we believe the white man and white woman, white man, white woman, black man and black woman. Then, I'm sorry, we got all other people before us. Is white man, white woman. I'm going to put her up there with him. Sorry, that's the trick. And then you have all the others, and they get all the way down to us. And I think you've kind of become very comfortable in that place in life. You say, you know what, this is the place. This is where we are. So we might as well accept it. We might as well accept, this is what I'm hearing, we might as well accept that we will always be less than the white race. But see, that's not really consistent with our scholars who showed us how we have ruled our own nations and civilizations and all these type of things, what you think is accurate, inaccurate, and all this type of thing, because you know your lot in life, FBA, is not for African sovereignty, is not for Pan-Africanism, is not for us coming together globally. I know you say, well, what we'll do is we get ourselves right, and then we'll go and join up with them. Some of you will say that. Some of you will at least get there. Some of you will at least get there. And maybe a lot of you who are not very clear that FBA is a very anti-Pan-Africanist, anti-Black immigrant movement. But let's keep moving. Political behavior. Let's dissect that a bit. Beliefs, attitudes, and actions through which groups organize power, regulate legitimacy, and enforce boundaries and guide collective action. That is much of what you hear. This is political behavior. This is what FBA is trying to accomplish. They're trying to put certain kinds of beliefs in you so that you can have certain attitudinal dispositions and actions. They want you to act FBA-ish. They want you to act FBA-ish, through which groups organize power. They're seeking to be second-class citizens, or third or fourth or 10th. Nonetheless, they're not seeking to be top tier. They're not seeking, as our dear Baba, Dr. Amos Wilson says, a blueprint for Black power. They're not seeking African sovereignty, because they have, like Frank, what's the guy's name? Frank Zanou, the African sellout to Africans. No, let's keep that clear. Go over to the proper perspective and check out his analysis on Frank Zanou. Go over to the proper perspective, because he has one of the most critical analysis I've heard. And we have to be clear that Frank Zanou is not just saying that Black people don't have culture in America. He's saying that Black people don't have culture anywhere. Then he'll say, he plays with words. So he'll say, you do have culture, but don't have culture. And I get it. He's playing games, because really, he is an African version of Thomas Sowell. So Thomas Sowell is one of, quote unquote, FBA. So he gets his points from people like Thomas Sowell and Glenn Laurie and these very far right, or right, what they call it, conservatives, who do their best to see. And it's pretty interesting, because sometimes you can't tell who's selling out for that white money. In fact, they'll try to say, well, this isn't popular. They'll say, well, it's more popular to be a liberal Black person, and then you'll be an in club. No, there's lots of space in those right spaces for Black sambos. There's a lot of space over there. Like Candace Owens, like one time she's like, she confuses us. But her popularity is not because she is, quote unquote, if she was in a liberal space, she wouldn't be Candace Owens. Thomas Sowell wouldn't be Thomas Sowell. Glenn Laurie wouldn't be Glenn Laurie. They're not that special. It's the fact that they go and they speak differently than most Black people in a way that affirms white patriarchy, that affirms the white patriarchal aspect of white supremacy. That far right talking supports white patriarchy. And I'm going to say there's a thing called white matriarchy. And then liberals, they fall in that bucket. I'm not, look, they love, they cry, they got tears and all that type of thing, but they ain't giving you nothing. They ain't giving up their stuff, as his sister Queen says on Black Box Radio. Go follow us over there, like and share. We over there too. We on all 3 platforms, family. Follow all 3 platforms. Go over to the proper perspective. Go over to Instagram and follow me, Dr. Dennis Ausar Winkler, so you can stay informed, family. Also, come out to Kwanzaa this Sunday. We'll be starting at 3 o'clock at 5525 Harford Road. TNAT Holistic Wellness Center, a wellness center with lots of things going on, because it is African-centered and Pan-African inspired. So let's get back to this political behavior. One more time, one more again. Beliefs, political behaviors, beliefs, attitudes, and actions through which groups organize their power, regulate their legitimacy. Regulate their legitimacy. There's a lot of trying to regulate the legitimacy of what is an FBAer and what is not. And how we enforce our boundaries, how we delineate and who is an in-group or out-group person. This is political behavior. You don't have political behavior without ideology. Your ideological understanding actually guides how you do these things. In fact, it says it right here, and guide collective action. So let's move. All right. Genealogy versus ideology. Genealogy is ascriptive and non-revocable. You know, if you can't say I'm not African American. You can say it. You can't put me out of the African American population, but you can put me out of the FBA population. In fact, because it's a subgroup. You mean they called me tether and tether lover, tether lover, and all this type of thing. But they say, you know, that's only for certain people. Let's keep it moving because I want to get to this right here. And let's go, Brother Shabazz. As I transition, please bring anything in so I can seamlessly do this without any too much space, because I think I forgot to pull up one tab. What's going on in the chat? What's happening? Yeah.
Okay, y'all. Let me see. So you know, it's a couple of statements being made. You are either uninformed about the FBA Renaissance movement.
What is that?
Then we got a new one.
Oh, really?
You're deliberately lying about the intentions of the FBA Renaissance. Either way, you are misleading your audience. Tethers, shaking my head. Now, again, it just proves the point. First off, anybody that is against them, anybody that they feel is against them, now you just become a tether. But they define tether. They always say a tether is a black immigrant.
Mm-hmm.
And we are definitively not black immigrants. We are definitively of the lineage that they say this whole thing is all about. But because we're not jumping on the bandwagon of their entire movement, oops, we must be tethers. Okay. Now, I ain't never heard of the FBA Renaissance movement. I don't know if he's just, you know, giving it a more stylistic name, or if he's actually referring to some new division in the FBA crowd.
Division.
Because I mean, this is the first time I've heard anybody use, you know, it's usually it's the FBA, it's FBA, it's Lineage, and now he's saying the FBA Renaissance movement.
Yeah, I like that. What did you say? The you specifically said what did you say there? You said division.
Divide and be
conquered. What I want to say here is let's go to the primary source, and let's look at what is on the FBA website. You've been here before, Papa?
I think if this is this Tariq's? I've been to one of them.
Yeah, I think it's the leader that's not a leader. The leader that's not a leader's website. But it is the what do they call it? It is the the website.
The FBA. Website.
Because Tariq owns the trademark.
Anybody else would get in trouble for
but
trying.
Let me do this before. I've been very disrespectful, brother. I've been very disrespectful. Let me say happy Aritusuiusi. Yeah, I think I've been disrespectful this whole time. I did not say happy the holiday, the FBA holiday. I didn't say it. Look, you're the English major, please. Oh, literature. What is it? Can you help me out? Pronounce that.
I would just say Aritususi. Aritususi. So see, yeah, Aritususi.
Yeah. See, you see what good education does for you. I can't pronounce it.
I'm trying to see where he got it from. I'm not even necessarily mad at it if it came like maybe.
Well, I'm just saying
knees or.
But I'm saying we're just being disrespectful because we did not greet our brothers and sisters.
Well, hey, and
we're doing it now.
Right.
Never. Because they didn't. Better late than never.
Right, and they didn't come into the chat saying it either. So
they didn't. Come on now, y'all. FBAs, we gotta do better. But anyway, right. I mean, I'm not saying, and let's keep it clear. I'm not saying there's no. Okay, I hear you, cuz. See me and you gonna have to really flesh this out a bit.
Okay.
So I am mad. I do get it though. Like what I mean by it's not like I'm not really mad, but what I am saying is I can't, like, I think that there's some historical accuracy in some of this that we will read today, but it's also some overly manipulated type of interpretation. There's some stretching, and then in fact, we have to understand, like, the reason why I will say I'm mad at it, if we have to use that term, is that it's not about this holiday that I'm angry at, because I think that African Black people have the ability to define and determine for themselves.
Right.
But the reason why I have a problem with it is that the aim is for division. If the aim was for self-love and all those things that it seems that it's for, that's cool. I have no problem with it. But the problem I have with it is that this is a joke. This is the website. And the dear brother owns it. You know, then you want to throw you throw Dr. Wells in on it just to get some credibility. You know what I mean? I mean, we know what's going on, but there's no leader. But for some reason, this picture keeps showing up. There's no leader. There's so much subliminal imagery going on here. You know what I mean? It's like it's beautiful. You know, it was put together really quickly. You can tell. But there's FBA history. Talk about 1526 Spanish colonizer. I don't want to say his name because Lucas, let's say that, brought the first documented enslaved Black people to the shores of what is now the South Carolina, Georgia coastline. Shortly after their arrival, these enslaved Black people courageously revolted against their captors, leading to the collapse of the Spanish settlement. So they are saying, "Ooh, these, this is an interesting historical account." Have you ever heard of it?
Oh, I've heard of it on this website.
Okay, I've done a little research, and there's some accuracy here, but it's not supporting what they're trying to support. It's a major stretch. They don't, this colony that never took place. Like, they don't even know how long or how many Africans were there, or if it was 12, and now that they're trying to utilize this event as the marking event of FBA instead of 1619.
Okay.
So
yeah, I have heard.
26 is when they're saying, because they want to be foundational, and they will reach for all the straws that prove that they're support. Try to try to influence you that they're FBA or they're the foundation. Not that you're the foundation slave or enslaved, that we are the foundation. And it's not because we were enslaved here that we were the foundation. So they will do all these things. I mean, they have merchandise. They got, what they call it, merch. I mean, you ain't mad at them. I get it. Look, I ain't with the rest of y'all brothers to be like, well, I ain't mad at him. He got to make his. No, I'm mad at him because if he was just doing it for the collective good of our community, I wouldn't have a problem. But he's doing it, or they are doing it, whoever's doing it, the boogeyman, the Wizard of Oz is doing it. The leader that's not a leader is doing it because they try to keep that, they trying to stay in them houses and them cars.
True that.
You gotta continue. Like, what I'm saying is, one thing about Pan-Africanism is that it's been fighting for a long time. I mean, a long time. I mean, if you have to look at their leaderless leader, or their leader with this leaderless or whatever, you will realize that he has jumped every movement that he has created. He's created a new one. How could you deal with them? You should have abandonment issues. See, the problem with traumatized people is that they go for people that will abandon them. See, when you've been traumatized, you've been victimized, you are used to dealing with people that won't fully attach to you. And I've heard too many accounts that this brother does not attach to anybody in a human way. There's no care for people. In fact, The fact that you would put a video out about our elder, Baba Small,
Mhm.
and then, you didn't even like really talk to this person, like got the information incorrect or correct or whatever. You just took a pop shot at him, right? I didn't see any correction. Well, you know what? Maybe I got some misinformation at the Baba Small tried to correct it. Nonetheless, what I'm saying is, come on, y'all. How you talking about calling this brother up and he ain't got to call nobody up? Yeah, he took that L with he took that L with brother Tahaka apparently yesterday as well.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I talked to my dear brother briefly yesterday. Yeah, so
That's like
there's no leader. There's no leader. Oh, there's no leader. They have a book. Well, yeah, huh?
No, go ahead. I'm laughing. They got a book.
It's called Foundational Black American Race Baiter. The journey into understanding systemic racism from the #1 scholar in the world who jumped on all the pseudo documentaries and utilized everybody's talent to promote his own. I saw it from the beginning. All right. You got all due respect to our Maroon brothers and sisters, Dr. Wells, rest in power. We have a flag with a fist in the middle. They break it down. But let's get down to this theory, y'all. I just wanted to show y'all happy. Go ahead, cuz do the word for me. Happy.
Aritusi Day. Aritusi Day.
Oh, you got it. Happy Aritusi. Happy Aritusi. All right. T-shirt. Oh God. See, they do a lot of mind control. They try to say, look, these are FBAers, and they wasn't even around to tell you they were FBAer. We're going to put people that can't say that they are they can't support whether or not they fall within this. So there's the FBA flag, and then there's it breaks it all down. It has a whole thing, Go ahead. Good. So there's some good stuff here. So let's see here. This is where it gets a little interesting. But hold on, let's go back. The 3 stars of FBA on the flag. That's very important. Mm-hmm. That's very essential. But this is where people typically stop. And I'm going to just sit here for just a moment because the stuff below it is the ideology. Part of the ideology, the working ideology, the ideology that they're working with and on. And if this is a mess, just to be honest with you. The 3 stars. And I'm saying it's a mess because our brothers and sisters who say there's no such thing, there's no ideology, why is it here? So the 3 stars represent the historical understanding, was part of the ideological framing, represents 3 groups who make up the ethnic group that would become foundational Black American. The Black Aboriginal people of North America. And it doesn't like what Black Aboriginal people of North America are you talking about? I'm like, let's not usurp the Native Americans or the First Nations peoples thing. Let's not usurp their existence here. Like, we really doing this. Now, then the second one, I think you get an before you even get started. It's like the Black explorers and traders who have contact with the Americas before Columbus. How do they become like you just had contact and that made that they were the they represented
the foundational builders.
Yeah, like they represent the 3 groups who make up the ethnic group that would become the foundational. Wow, what are you saying? They came over, they traded, they did their thing, or they talked to some people, they made love with somebody. What are you saying? What happened? Talk about it. I want to hear it out a little bit more. I mean, I think it's vague for a reason. I mean, because I don't know. I did want to order the book. So I might order the book and it may be in there. But see, I see why you don't say you have an ideology, because it's horrible. The captives, then the third one's the captives brought to the Western Hemisphere from Africa. Now, why that gotta be last? Come on now. Come on. the only one that was kind of real. I mean, the only one real. The only real one got to be last. I mean, well, let me not say the explorers. I'm not getting that debate with y'all, but absolutely, it doesn't make sense still. So it's not real. Even if the explorers came here and they did their thing, how does that make? What did they do? Did they make love with the women here and left their progeny? What did they do? Then you have the captive that brought. That's the only real one, y'all. But this is the last one they want to talk about because Dr. Patricia Newton early on in this video, we struggle with being that right there, African. We struggle with it. That's a part of the drama. So we're going to put that last just because we can't sound totally pseudo. See, their leaderless leader or leaderless is more astute than that. You know, he got to put a little, it can't be totally pseudo. Can't be totally pseudo. But because what you were saying, you said that they said that there's this new FBA group or something like that.
Well, the brother in the chat is saying that there's, I guess, well, he's trying to name two different movements. He said that the FBA is the Renaissance movement is different from the delineation movement, but they're all under the same umbrella, so to speak. I was trying to find his comment again.
The Renaissance movement, huh?
Yeah, he says you're either uninformed about the FBA Renaissance movement or you are deliberately lying about the intentions of the FBA Renaissance. Either way, you are misleading your audience. And then he said something later about there's 45 million. You two the FBA Renaissance movement currently consists of the FBA delineation and reparations movements. There is over 45 million FBAs. So there are potentially millions of movements.
Have these people identified that you're like, it's religious? It's kind of like the Nation of Islam said, we're all Muslims.
We're all Muslims, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, cuz don't come for me, man. hey, it's like all the Hebrew Israelites said we part of the 12 like we gotta believe this. Like we all gotta agree on this, right? Like that's what I'm saying. It is not on the same level as what you would call African American. It's not the identifying marker for our people here who have ancestry that maybe derived through enslaved Africans or free Africans that were here. It's not, you're not talking about that. I mean, you can't be, you can't, like, how do you just throw this term on everybody, like all of us? Like, how do you do that? Like, you really believe this? This is very, 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 I don't even know. It's dog. What is it? Dogmatic? It's delusional.
It's the Jedi. If I use more layman's terms, it's the Jedi mind trick. They're operating from the notion that it is the foregone conclusion that they are correct. The rest of us are wrong, and they are just here to inform us. You guys missed the memo. We are now foundational Black American. So that gives us the right to say who we all are. That's why he can say there's 45 million of us. He's counting all Black people. He's counting every African American who is not, oriented around an immigrant group of Blacks and saying that's us.
Oh,
but that's the Jedi mind trick. It's
they got another one. Because they got a Jedi mind trick in here. When they talk about immigrants, they crazy good. Are you hearing me? They good because they it's very weak, but for people who don't think, they put in like this protective date for migrants or immigrants, so that it can be inclusive of immigrants that they know or people who have parentage that comes from other places who fought for us.
Right.
That they know that it's like that these type of individuals that are sacred cows in the community. So they created a date and tied it to some political activity to say, well, look, see, not the immigrants before then, but the immigrants after then.
After then.
Yeah.
Now, I would say I kind of got a bit of an understanding if when they start throwing the little caveats out like that. Like we are aware that FBA is promoting the idea of us getting reparations, and we are aware of the idea that FBA is promoting the idea of delineation. And yeah, you can make the argument that they are technically two separate camps or two separate political goals, but they still fall under one umbrella. Now, me personally, I would just say when it comes to the fight for reparations, I'm not throwing shots at them for trying to insist on the one group, the identified group, getting the reparations. What I do is take shots at how they go about it, because most of the people who have been working on reparations now, yeah, they may be right to say, well, they ain't been working strong enough, they ain't been working hard enough, and they base that on because they ain't been successful enough to get it. That's an immature sophomore opinion and assessment of the work that's been done. But the folk who have been working on reparations have been taking their lead from Dr. William Darity, and he has already laid out, as far as reparations is concerned in America, it should be going to the descendants of the enslaved Africans who were caught up in the Ma'afa. And he's already written out, he has actuarial tables and all of these economists that he's worked with on how it can get distributed and where and when and who gets it. So in that regard, I'm like, okay, for the reparations thing, I understand. But the part of the issue is, but you don't need anything out of Tariq Nasheed's mouth. You don't need the term FBA. You don't need the term lineage. You don't need their movement at all, because all of that work was already done, and all of that work was like already written into the various legislative pieces that have been on the table and been trying to get, promoted and pushed and passed and all that other stuff. So it's like, okay, I understand that maybe it's just you want to be a part of the game and you didn't know how to join the movement, so you just sort of started your own movement and said, yeah, we about that. So yeah, and go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I just see that you have become a honorary Baltimore dude.
That means I must got some kind of I got a bad name or
no, it was
horrible appellation.
They probably know I'm from Baltimore, and they didn't hear nobody say do and two, so I don't know. I mean, I don't think you said do and two or anything like that, because you're definitely not from Baltimore. And
True.
Yeah, so but anyway, but what I do want to keep it like clear, like we're talking about, like, yeah, and I appreciate that clarity that you're bringing, like you're able to delineate. But the thing is, and we're talking about, like, there's no beef here per se, as far as the goal is there's that it's an ideology, and that I don't want to be thrown off by people making like my fight here is not none of that right now. Today is right. FBA Ideology 101, and I want to hear more about it not being an ideology, if that's what we're talking about. I mean, if I want to hear those who say it's not an ideology speak to it not being an ideology after we're sharing and submitting this particular case here today. What you about to say to that, cuz?
Well, I was trying to look for some commentary from people in the chat, where they would be, trying to articulate that. Most times, most of what I've seen, and if it's there, I'm just missing it. So I'm not saying it's not there, but rather than try to, speak to the topic, they just like to say, you're just wrong. You just don't understand. But they rarely offer, an explanatory statement as to what it is we don't understand. You're just a tether. Yeah, well, you're not informing. Like the other brother that was like, you guys are just misleading the people. Well, you can properly inform somebody by making a statement. Just saying somebody is wrong is not fixing the situation. But it's definitely more, there's some pro FBA people here, but apparently they're not up to snuff as far as articulating their positions.
Well, in FBAers, you are my family. You are my family. I choose not to go by FBA because you haven't shown me that it's worthy of me identifying myself as one. I do, as Brother Cuz is saying, proper perspective and Professor Shabazz, all the above is saying, I do agree, and we say, we say this because it's kind of political, we sound like politicians. Like, I do agree, and we got to keep saying it, but Brother Cuz, I don't care how many times you tell these people that. It doesn't matter. I mean, I get it. We're very trained at trying to help them see, like, well, you see, I'm not fighting your delineation claim. I'm fighting the other things. I want you to see and hear me. I want you to hear me that I am not fighting you, black brother, for wanting to identify yourself. We have too many examples in even the Pan-African spaces that have done that level of delineation. So, I mean, I'm not going to continue. Look. Sometimes when you're in the classroom, we are in class, and sometimes there's bad students, and they need to sit their tails down. And I'm not going to continue telling you because you refuse to listen. You might need to go to the office, or you might need to go sit in the corner because we've been nice to you, and we're trying to tell you that we understand. It's kind of like, Brother Cuz, I don't know if you ever heard somebody say, like, you just didn't agree with them fully. And they're like, you're not hearing me. You're not hearing me. And I'm like, no, I hear you. I just don't agree.
Right.
And, so I appreciate your care and I appreciate my care. But at this moment, I don't know how much that's going to help them. Let's talk about this ideology. Are you there with me?
Yeah.
Do you see the subliminals? All these are FBAers. They just they didn't just made them after they didn't went back historically and created this term and took it back and said these are FBAers because these are people who touch us on a very emotional, effective level. As you heard about ideology, it hits you in a cognitive sense and an affective or emotional sense, in order to control your actions. So who is foundational Black American and who is not? This is the key indicator that it is an ideology. Why do I say that? In group and out group. There's nothing wrong, again, with an ideology. My beef here is that you say it's not. Then I know you're going to have to go back to the drawing board and say, well, maybe we are an ideology. You're going to have to get some new catechisms or some new apologetics or you're just going to ignore it. You're going to act like perhaps you never said you were just an ideology. Okay. So who is foundational Black American? Who is not? A foundational Black American. It gets pretty interesting because hold on to your seatbelt or your seat or something like that. A foundational Black American is any person classified as Black who can trace their bloodline lineage back to the American system of slavery. To be designated as an FBA, at least one parent must come from a non-immigrant background in the United States. I get that. Look, I got it, cuz you with it. You with it. You ain't got to explain no more. They understand that did you understand that? You are logical. With that, we don't have to say it again. We've already said it enough that we get that. But what you won't do, not you, cuz the FBAers, our brothers and sisters, is turn the corner and really accept that we're saying it. Why would you put another thing in it? It's a lineage. All right. Okay. We don't have no problem with you saying that, but we're showing you all these other aspects of it that makes it more than a quote unquote lineage, which others have shown that you misuse and misappropriated the word. And I'm not even going to that because I think, and I'll just be honest with you as a social scientist, that you can operate. I can't even say the word, operationalize the word. You can have no problem with you doing that. I'll help you out. You can operationalize the word lineage and what you mean. You just have to define it. So how does a person trace their lineage back to American slavery? The process of determining if you are a descendant of foundational Black American survivors of American slave trade is relatively easy. 5 years after formal slavery was abolished in America, the U.S. government provided detailed information about the foundational Black American population for the first time. The 1870 census provided the first detailed accounting of the Black population, and if a person can trace their lineage to the 1870 census, they are most likely a descendant, most likely a descendant of foundational Black Americans who were enslaved. Most likely. The 1900 census is a good verification resource because of the influx of immigrants to the U.S. At the time, the 1900 census have been even more detailed information, which includes race, citizenship, nativity, meaning of the birthplace, and parents. Okay, so I heard someone on your show say that some people might have an issue with that. You had a sister on your show that was very powerful and profound. Go check it out on Proper Perspective, The Proper Perspective. What's the name of that show, cuz?
The channel is The Proper Perspective. That was a conversation about reparations, DNA, and I forget the last term.
In genealogy, I think, or something like that.
In genealogy, yeah.
Yeah. And I think one thing that you brought into the conversation by putting DNA, and she brought that into the conversation, DNA would help us out. We wouldn't have to do all these things. They want to ignore the fact that science is science and that DNA works. They want to ignore the fact that DNA could cut a lot of this confusion out. They want to ignore that. They want to act like it doesn't exist because it really puts a hole in their argument in their ideology. So they conveniently ignore that this debate could be over just by really a quick sample. Oh, we don't believe in DNA. We never. Some of them saying we never been in Africa. We're the explorers, and we're the first nation people, and all those type of things. But then there's those who have some sense, who know that most of us came through the transatlantic slave trade. All right, let's keep going. This is all the stuff that most of us can say, okay, that doesn't sound too bad. But what is the status of people with half FBA? This is where it gets interesting. And half immigrant lineage. Have you seen this part, cuz?
I have seen this. Well, I've seen it because I have been on the site a couple of times. And I'm reading it back over too, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this. And I've had more conversation with people about it. So I'm like, oh yeah, now I'm remembering why and where it came from.
Okay. So this is part of the ideology. If you are a person classified as Black who has one parent from an immigrant background and another parent who can be traced to American slave plantations, then you are considered foundational Black American. All right, they give they didn't. Okay, cool. All right. That means you got one parent. You in there. You a half breed, but you in there. And half breeds need to be looked out for as we continue to talk. It's kind of like a mulatto. They're gonna call you like I don't know. They probably have a term for you, like what they call you, an anchor baby. I don't know what they call people, but anyway, they got all types of derogatory terms. There is a very important caveat with this designation, and very important caveat. An FBA individual whose non-FBA parental lineage comes from a person who immigrated to the United States after 1970 should not be considered or looked upon as a representative of what? A representative or spokesperson for serious political, social, economic, or judicial issues that affect foundational Black Americans collectively. It's just a lineage. And now they want to tell you, the lineage wants to tell you, the lineage wants to tell you how to treat people who has. So, okay, in fact, let me just use this case study. My sons, that's interesting. My sons is African-American as they are, cannot be considered as Black power as they've been raised, as much as they help their community. My sons, who don't know nothing about Jamaica, for real, besides their mama cook the food, they cannot be considered or looked upon as representatives or spokespeople for serious political, social, economic, or judicial issues that affect foundational Black Americans collectively. That's just a lineage, but what? Now you're saying what they can do politically? What?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Okay, so what you say that? Cuz like that's what I'm saying. Like, I can't look the holiday, happy holiday, and all that. It's all you get down here to this type of thing. And look, I'm surprised they even have this on the website. So what people will show you on websites believe what is going on underneath the surface. What you say about that, cuz?
Again, I mean, it's definitely, well, one, I would say they really should just embrace the idea that it is an ideology, because it is so painfully spelled out when you have all of these rules and definitions and terms and qualifications and qualifiers. That's the very essence of what an ideology is. Now, I do think it's like, even when I'm trying to be generous, even when I'm trying to be like, okay, I ride with you about something, then like, okay, if I like, am I reading it wrong? Are they literally saying that we still rock with you if you have FBA, but because you have FBA, you can't speak for us. You can't speak for us about anything serious, political, social, economic, or judicial, because you only have. You in the fold, but you got to shut your mouth. That's what they saying.
Oh yeah. I think you hit it, and I think I lost my space. But oh shoot. But that's what they're saying. That's what they're saying, cuz.
Now they do have another paragraph, and they say the only exception to this rule. So okay, that is the rule.
That's it. I lost my I lost the space, but do you still see it?
I don't know. On your screen, what's showing is just the Google page.
All right, let me go back.
There you go. Okay.
All right. Nice website.
So yeah, in the next section, they do have an exception.
They have an exception. Oh Lord, we didn't get down there yet. Oh boy. All right. So this is, but the goal is, this is not political. Everything political is ideological. Everything, even identity is ideological. But I want to show you that even in their own writing, it shows you that it's very political, I mean, I don't even know why I would even be arguing that. Why people would argue that it's not, because they don't really understand that political is ideological.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. It's like they're getting caught up in what they think is the connotative negative vibe. When you say, well, this is an ideology. No, it ain't. You just think I said something bad. You think I just said something to disrespect you.
That's right.
And so then you're battling back. But I'm like, ideology itself is not a bad word.
Well, it is, brother, because you're giving them too much credit. It is a bad word because you can, at that point, it becomes a struggle. I mean, maybe, you know what? Then they're going to have to really identify that they're really a religious sect. Because the reality is, if they say it's an ideology, then they're going to have to say, well, they're going to have to even lie and act like everybody's a part of it, like a religious sect, and say, well, we all FBAers, you know? And but the reality is, but people get to choose their ideologies. The reason why they want to say it's a lineage is because they're saying, well, we're all here fall into this category. And we even have half-breeds, and half-breeds can be trusted. You know, I mean, they said we have half-breeds, you know, like these people who come from two strong African parents, even not even the one drop rule. We're talking about black continental, black Caribbean, or mixed with black person on this continent, the United States of America. And somehow you got to watch out for those Negroes, because now let's get to let's read this again. An FBA individual whose non-FBA parental lineage comes from a person who immigrated to the United States after 1970 should not be considered or looked upon as a representative or spokesperson for serious political, social, economic, and judicial issues that affect foundational Black Americans successfully. Now, I'm going to just cut to the chase. 1968, some major things happened. Also 1965? I can't remember but anyway, they want to include all the now this is my hypothesis, that they want to be able to include Malcolm X and the others who have parents who have migrated from other spaces that they know will be our sacred cows. You better not mess with Malcolm, you know. So after 1970, of course, they said this whole the immigrants after that came in and they formed their own communities, and the way that the government organized some laws and things of that nature had them become more displaced. I don't even know where they're talking about, really. I mean, like, every city don't have like immigrant blacks that are separate from the other blacks. Like, I mean, if you're like in maybe New York, perhaps, even Baltimore, just to be honest, we have a major Caribbean population, and they do move out into certain spaces, but it's still very integrated with other Black Americans. You have Park Heights in Baltimore that there's a lot of Caribbean restaurants. There used to be more. A lot of Jamaican, more Jamaican than anything. Then you have Trinidadian and others, you know. But you have the brothers and sisters from the continent, and they might live out in Randallstown, but they also live in the community. And you have to also realize, they'd be like, so where all that? People ask the most interesting questions. Where the Africans at? Where the Caribbean people at? I ain't go to school with them. I mean, I ain't see them in my, like, bro. First of all, second generation is very difficult to tell because they grew up with you.
Right.
If you ain't ever going to, you hear so many people, even that's part of these documentaries, said, I didn't know they was Caribbean until I went to their house and they offered me a certain type of food.
Right.
You don't always, it's very difficult to just say someone's Caribbean, because what do you think? You're going to do the hairline test that they talk about? Like, it just don't work that easy. Even brothers and sisters from the continent, you know, and it's so crazy. But nonetheless, let's keep going. The only exception to this rule is if the half FBA individual has verified track record of loyalty and tangible contributions to the betterment of the foundation of Black Americans on a grassroots level. The reason this rule applies to FBA people who immigrant lineage came to us after 1970 is because the African Caribbean immigrants before that time frame had different collective disposition and relationship. Oh, my sons probably can make it, but who's the officer?
There you go.
Yeah. They don't have. I mean, there's it's not an ideology. They don't have leaders. So who decides? Who? How do we vote on this? What type of process do they go through? It's not an ideology. There's no leader. There's no body. It's not an organization. Who decides on and who quantifies whether or not the track record is who verifies the track record? Who verifies and quantifies the loyalty and the tangible contributions to the betterment of foundational Black Americans on a grassroots level? And when you get upset with them, can you just call them, if they disagree with you for one thing, and you're going to just say tether?
Yeah, that's I mean, even in the chat, you know, they're still assigning us the label of tether because we're not on the bandwagon. We're not, even if somebody said, I'm halfway on the bandwagon, well, you still a tether because you're not all the way on the bandwagon. So, and as you had made reference when I did have Dr. Carmichael on the show, that was one of the things she was saying. She was like, you know, you get to the point where now you're trying to police the community's own Blackness. And you're trying to police the community's own eligibility. Like, you know, you either fit, you know, if you're an African-American, you're an African-American. Can't nobody, like, you can't, like we may all have a huge problem with Candace Owens. We may all have a huge problem with Clarence Thomas. But no one has raised the flag to say she ain't African-American.
No,
because you can't take the ethnicity from somebody. Even if you want to, you can have some jokes. You know, you can get online and say we want to revoke the black card, but it's a joke. She's still an African American. But that is not the truth. That's not the same with the FBA. As soon as you get out of line, you ain't FBA.
So as soon as you get out of line, you're not FBA. And you know, in cross nigrousence theory on Black identity, what they call that is, oh yeah, we all black, or we have Black identity, but someone like a Candace Owens or the young lady who used to be on a Huxtable show, they're more like assimilationists. So they still fall under the umbrella term of African American or what have you. I think, not sure if Candace Owens had some quote unquote lineage elsewhere. Maybe, I'm not sure, but
yeah,
but nonetheless,
somebody in the chat said that she's somebody in the chat said she's Jamaican, and I'm like, okay, you know, so I got a bad example, but you still know what I'm saying. Okay, we can switch it over to Clarence Thomas. The point still holds.
Or Thomas Sowell, or Glenn Laurie, or many other people like that.
Right.
In fact, I'm going to argue that brother, Frank Zanu, studied them, and and they all getting that bag off of being. They all getting that bag. Even Glenn Laurie talks about, you know, he held his position sometimes and was afraid to come out. And really alter his position because of his audience. You know, there's a lot that like if you really want to be like a Jesse Lee Peterson, there's a lot. Look, you'll get some money, and your YouTube channel will grow quickly.
It will grow, yeah.
The African brother Frank Zanu is like, well, you know, people think I've been doing this for years, and you know, I've only been doing it for 8 months. When he was on I want you and I to do a
I saw that.
Yeah, I've only been doing this for 8 months. Yes, if you're going to be a straight in the Black community, if you're Black and you come out as a straight conservative, hardcore conservative, and hardcore white supremacist points, you're gonna become very popular really quickly.
Yeah.
In that video with the sister, I would like for you and I to do a review of that. She was giving it to him, and she was from like Kenya. She was giving it to him. I think we should do a review of that, cuz I would love it.
I'm down for it. All we got to do is like schedule it up, and then we can chop it up. Cause that is one of the ones I was like, I sat down the other day and just started taking notes. I'm like, I feel like a student in class again, because I was like, oh yeah, I'm going in.
And she was giving it to him. And guess what? Her awakening, you can tell, comes from a lot of the African American purportedly allegedly FBA elders, ancestors, and scholars,
right?
Our people. So and she, it was a good thing. So let me go back to this. I'm gonna try to come off of this and not be here too much longer. Let's see here. We have okay. All right, so let's go back to the ideology. So again, the only exception to the rule is the half FBA individuals has a verified track record of loyalty and tangible contributions to the betterment of Foundation and Black Americans on a grassroots level. Who's the judge? It's not an organization. It's just a lineage. There's no ideology, no precept, concepts, or philosophy. Who judges this?
Tariq.
I was trying not to use his name, but no, it's good. You use it, not me, because they instantly say, you're just mad at Tariq. Oh, God of mercy. Tariq has really, I'm using his name now. He has really trained them well. He has trained them, huh?
He really has.
That is the apologetics and the catechisms. So going forward, it says the reason this rule applies to half FBA people who are immigrant lineage. This is the one drop rule, almost like, this is the Black version of,
yeah.
Oh God. Then it took white supremacy talking and stratification systems and created it in an ethnic sense to shut certain people out. That's why, like, when like Brother Diallo and others like, it's no ideology. I'm like, what is it? I said, white supremacy.
White supremacy. And melanated white supremacy.
Melanated, it's called, the easiest, you think it's going to be easier or whatever. I don't know, whatever. You want to be part of the winning team, even if you have to be the ball boy or whatever they call it, the bat boy or the jockey. What's the person who carried the clubs for the golfers?
Yeah, that's a good one. I don't know that name. I was gonna say the water boy, but that's
the water boy. That's the one I was looking for earlier.
Yeah.
So it says it's because African and Caribbean immigrants before that time frame had different collective dispositions. So they didn't generalize the difference in dispositions without giving you any type of research articles to support this claim. Like, they're saying that before 1970, it was okay. They're included if they were here before 1970. But because the African and the Caribbean immigrants before that time frame had different collective dispositions in relationship to the FBA. And guess what? They're not policing it well, because they never asked when a person come on the show, like, were you here before 1970? Okay, you're not a tether then. And likely you're not a tether. Okay, so 1970 would be okay. All right, guys, he's been here before 1970. And because he's been here before 1970, it's plausible, it's highly likable and plausible that he or she isn't a tether. That because their dispositions were different in relation to FBA. It goes on to say the Immigration Act of 1965 law foundational African American fought for in order to help Black people from Africa and Caribbean to come to the U.S. and assist FBA as a reinforcement against systemic white supremacy. This was because this plays on our emotions. It's way more complex than that, but we'll come back and chop it up. It's trying to say, well, when you see the Africans, it plant seasoning. You see them and they got the job and they're looking like they don't treat you with respect. Know that you fought for that. And I think there's so the reality is there's some truth to that. There's a level of truth to that, but it's being weaponized and is a subtle seed of ideology and is not telling the full story. And we will go deeper. This is 101. We're just going to hit the general today. But 101, and we might have like a 101-2 or 102. Or you about to say something, cuz?
No, go ahead. You on point. Go ahead.
This was because the few Black people who were able to immigrate in the U.S. before 1965 acted as strong allies to foundation. Where did they? And so now after 1965. They changed up on us. They just changed up. They acted as strong allies. They were acting, in fact. I don't think that's what they mean, but maybe they do. And see, everything, words are essential. Acted as strong allies to the foundational Black Americans. This is part of the mythology. This is mythology here, y'all. During Jim Crow, because they're not going to see they're talking about behavioral differences, but you have to look at the entire story. But people who have succumbed to trauma, who have not healed from trauma, will only give you fragments of any story. They will not give you the entire story. They'll pull out the pieces to keep you traumatized, to keep you in the trance. During the Jim Crow era in America, African and the Caribbean immigrants did not have their own segregated enclaves apart from FBA. Oh God. Some places they do, and some places they still don't. And yeah, if you're in Baltimore, you don't know who you living next to. It's a reality. You know, in order for them to thrive, they had to have unity with foundational Black Americans. And I'm going back to a point. When people ask the question, I don't see them in my community. The other craziness is you're not going to see as many immigrants from the continent or the Caribbean in your neighborhood to equal to yours to the what you call FBA, because the population isn't that large. And that's on top of the fact that they've integrated so well that you can't even tell. They practice African American culture outside the house. Now you have where some and many have evolved to maintain their culture, but in fact, a lot of them, my good brother Montu, you can't tell me he's not an African American. He had to realize at some point, pardon Montu, but he had to realize at some point that he had to realize, damn, I'm not like my mother and father from Jamaica. So, but he grew up here. So it's like he had to really think about it, like, damn, my grandparents don't come from here. But he's so entrenched in African-American culture because he grew up here. He had to really take a step back and say, damn, I'm not like African-American the same way you African-American. You know, he had to like really look at that. In order for them to thrive, they had to have unity with foundational Black Americans and get on code. That's their word. With them against the common enemy, which was and is white supremacy. The white supremacy is practiced within FBA, and white supremacy is, it can't be denied that we all have been punch drunk by it. And people like the Frank Zanus are practicing white supremacy at best. He tries to intellectualize it. He's very tricky. He makes good points at times, but then he can't hold fast on anything. So let's see if there's anything else I want to hit here. Let me just finish it up real quick. Because of their track record of loyalty and dedication to the fight against white supremacy during this era, many Black immigrants and half FBA activists became respected spokespersons for Foundation of Black Americans. People like Jamaican immigrants Marcus Garvey, there you go. They're going to be clear. We're not talking about them because we don't want that fight.
Right.
So they're going to be like, okay, we have some exceptional Negroes here. So people like Jamaican immigrants Marcus Garvey and half FBA Malcolm X, whose father was FBA and mother was from Grenada, became icons to FBA. So they didn't want that smoke. You hear me? They didn't want that smoke. They knew if they didn't clarify that they would have too much smoke and it would challenge their ideology. Right. So after I just gave them a point they can talk about because most of them haven't read this and they're going to now say you're going to start hearing around the internet. Oh, well, after 1970, Malcolm X was before 1970. You're going to start hearing them now because they didn't even read this themselves.
Right.
They don't. Right. I haven't really heard them saying that. But J. Edgar Hoover, FBI COINTELPRO agenda was in full swing at this time, targeting and neutralizing Black organizations and any form of Black solidarity with other empowerment-minded individuals. This was also the time when large groups of African and Caribbean immigrants were being allowed to come to the U.S. government, would come up with ways to use some immigrant groups as buffers against foundational Black Americans. I mean, let's look. Okay. Now you want to say how they use immigrants as buffer groups, and the U.S. government didn't intend on allowing another Marcus Garvey or Stokely Carmichael. Then they trying to play with the words like, well, we still love Marcus Garvey and Stokely Carmichael though. But at the same time, they're saying they use buffer groups as if they didn't use us against us within they call FBA. Mm-hmm. Like you're leaving out things. That's what a traumatized mind does. But I think the trauma for this particular person is a little different. And let me be clear. I want to play a clip. Starting in 1970, the U.S. government implemented benign neglect policy against foundational Black Americans while they began to prioritize allocating tangible resources, immigrant groups. Consequently, this incentivized many individuals from immigrant backgrounds to collaborate with white supremacists. You see how we're not talking about all of them, but you see the generalization there, right? Like the seeds that are being planted and sabotage the progress for FBA, the danger of allegiances. Okay. Historically, there have been two types of half FBA individuals. In the general sense, loyalists to the FBA lineage and heritage, anchored tethers. Now, they didn't put a lot of work into this because they must have had some arguments like, what about Malcolm? What about Malcolm? So they had to do a little bit extra work. Loyalists to their FBA lineage and heritage. Two, anchored tethers who view, it's a beautiful thing. Because after this class, FBA is going to be able to fight better because they're going to start mentioning these things because I just taught them their own apologetics. Right. I am giving you points on how to be a better apologist. I'll guarantee you're going to start hearing them say, well, because 1970 and before, like you haven't heard them say these things. And Malcolm X, they would never come back. But now that I'm giving them a lesson that helped them out with their fallacious fight. That's sad. But let's see. So there's two types. Half FBA of FBA individuals in a general sense. Loyalists to the FBA lineage and heritage. Anchored tethers who view FBA society as a group to exploit, ultimately, and replace. Okay, so it's black and white. That's all you got. You got two. They either all for us or all against us. There's no nuance. It's black and white. It's trauma written. There's nothing in between. There's no nuance here. All or nothing. Them against us. And you trying to tell me it's not there? That's a traumatized ideology. FBA has to currently be skeptical about certain half FBA people. Just listen to that. Like just to say half FBA is like, wow, it does something for your mind. Like, oh, you're a half breed. Yeah. who want to act as, say it again.
No, go ahead. I'm saying, yeah, it does. It's insidious.
Yes, it is very insidious. FBA has currently FBA's. Let me not do that. I love y'all. I was going to say look it up, but FBA has to currently be skeptical. See, this is that trauma stuff, and this is what people do in their religions. They say, don't greet them Godspeed. Anyone who does not bring you this doctrine, do not greet them with Godspeed. That's why I put it down lower in the subgroup in the religious categories almost. FBA has to currently be skeptical about certain half FBA people who want to act as spokespersons for FBA collectively. Why do they come back here? If a person has dual allegiances to different ethnic groups and cultures, this is like, you can't be Pan-African. It's difficult to determine if they will look out for the best interests of FBA. You hear that? That right there, you can't have dual or like it has in their mind, black and white dual, instead of saying I have allegiance to all African people or my people here in America and my people here in the continent. I have to now forgo one for the other.
Yeah, and that's really it's really straight up out of the white man's mind. Like,
go ahead.
This
brother.
is how white people this is how white people think. You know, they even this government went through this whole thing about whether or not they were going to issue dual citizenship and who should be allowed to get dual citizenship, because they were saying they're afraid that if they give dual citizenship, people would have, this tug of war on who they're going to be loyal to. But it's all stemming from white man mindedness. I mean, quite frankly, it's not that difficult to be able to separate. You can sit in two different camps and assist both camps. But the notion that if you are in two different camps, you're going to be an enemy to one, that's paranoia at best.
Oh my God. It is. And it's also a trigger. It's a doctrine. It's a doctrine to exacerbate the trauma that's already there, that's laid dormant. It's a trigger. It's a way to penetrate those who have done healing. Because there's those of us who do the hard work. Because when you're in this society and we all get touched by this ideology of white supremacy, and I say ideology, be clear. I don't want no debates, Diallo. I'm not saying it's a real thing. So it's an ideology that we all are fighting. That is that Afrophobia that Dr. Wade Noble speaks about and others. We've been taught to hate ourselves. So when we go through these healing processes, all you have to do is read this and say, this is bullshit. Excuse my language. And then you go to work and you see an African brother say, who didn't smile at you. And you say, you know what? I didn't even believe that shit. But look, see him? They right about that shit. That's how it is. And this is how people implant ideas in your mind. It's kind of like that person, when you've been around a person and you've been listening to, they be like, well, such and such, he's all about himself. He don't care about nobody else. And you're like, no, he's a good bro. He's a good bro. No, he good. 3 years later, you ask him something, he says no. And then what comes back to your mind? He is all about himself. All he said was no one time. And now that seed that was been planted now germinates. And when you now, with that trauma, you start to look for other evidence to support that madness. And that's what people do when they're horrible scientists. They don't look for things to debunk the accuracy of a thing. They look for things to support it. And it's really easy to pull for straws, quite like this doctrine has done, to support whatever fallacious identity that you want to make. And the identity, moreover, not the identity, but moreover, the ideology that supports this fallacious identity, because the identity was created for the ideology. It says, where did I leave off? It says, let me just start over. It gets a little bit interesting here. FBA has to currently be skeptical about certain half FBA people who want to act as spokespersons for FBA collectively. If a person has dual allegiances to different ethnic groups and cultures, it's difficult to determine if they will look out for the best interests of FBA, even for FBA. Oh, here we go. Who has a history of prioritizing other groups. Oh, if you speak up for, I guess that sounds like if you just speak up for another group. Oh, no, we need to do better. Oh, see, they prioritize. This is the doctrine. This is the catechism. This is the seed planted in your mind that tells you they are the enemy. Let's say it again. Even full FBA who has a history of priority or of prioritizing other groups, religions. What other religions? Why is religion in here now? So now religion in here, and you're just a lineage? Like prioritizing other religions? What religion is the FBA religion? What religion is the FBA religion? And sexual intersectionality over the best interest of foundational Black Americans must be viewed with reservations. So they now become the enemy. The words say with reservations, but look, you know what that means. That's planting. Go ahead, brother.
No, go ahead. I'm tripping. I'm reading this stuff right along with you. So,
and we talking about ain't no ideology. If anybody tells me there's not an ideology after today, I don't know what to do for you.
Yeah, like I said, they would be better off saying, yes, it's an ideology and we can defend it. Now, I'm not saying that they'd be able to defend it. But again,
keep helping them out, cuz keep helping them out.
When you
give them a lesson.
When you deny clear facts, obvious facts, it's like you got your head up, you know what? It's just like it's clearly an ideology. It's clearly a laid out philosophical overview that is supposed to drive your optics, drive your mind towards thinking in a very specific way about very specific people, about very specific topics.
Absolutely.
So if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's not a pigeon.
It's dark. It's even dark when you read it. Like, if you're a healed person, it really like, damn, this is what they put on the website. You was about to say something.
No, I'm exasperated because it's like, yeah, when you really think, I was gonna say loud and proud, but wrong. But that's the thing, and to some extent, I will say, it also stems from at least a little bit of just the zeitgeist of America as it is. You know, the Donald Trump effect is to dig deep down. And get real close, put your hands on all the vitriol and the hate that you've been carrying, and let that light shine. And let that be your rallying call, your trademark, the flag of hatred. And it is what Trump is good at, and is what he is you know, using to guide the nation, so to speak. And this group of individuals, they're just dipping it in chocolate.
My dear brother, and I agree with him that I don't know what he meant, but he said something on his post, and he's been kind of ascribing to FBA, and my brother, one of my brothers, you know, not my biological brother, but one of my brothers in the movement, been subscribing to this. And one of the things he said, there's more there, like all groups. Now he has to then he says all groups have their more extreme factions, but this is the quintessential group. This is the mother of the group. This is, as you look at the website, it's the website, and the word I was looking for earlier, because it's official FBA.com. This is the official FBA doctrine. This is the official one where the copyright owner owns the copyright, and the one who created the term created and put together, I believe. Yeah. Official FBA.com. You can check me on that if this is the official website from him. I think it, yeah, I'm pretty sure
it is.
It
is. It is.
Yeah. So, so let's continue, and we're going to finish it up here, I believe. And almost all, okay, again, let's back up. I'm recursive because I like to, this is about educating. This is not about debating. Even for FBA, who has a history of prioritizing other groups, religions, and sexual intersectionality, and God knows, I have a debate with intersectionists, but I can't make them not African American.
Exactly.
And I'm coming to debate and really speak against that too, because there's divisive, there's some divisiveness there. Over the best interests of foundational Black Americans must be viewed with reservations. Okay. Okay, that's a call. That's kind of like Trump said, I didn't say it, but I didn't tell them to go and run into the Capitol, whatever they did down there. Like, I didn't say it, but you incited it. You incited it. And almost all you about to say something?
No, go ahead.
And almost all Native and Aboriginal societies, when people allow outsiders with dual allegiances, yeah, they pull it on. So even when you go above, when they talk about, well, you can be this, and 1970 got lost in the sauce by now. It's like you go to this whole thing. Well, we have flexibility, and go right back and you pour it on. Like, they're all enemies. Like, this is psychological warfare going on here, family. In almost all Native and Aboriginal societies, when people allow outsiders with dual allegiances to, hold up. Oh, I'm not reading the same thing over. It's kind of like, see, it's redundant, and it's redundant and recursive to instill it in your brain.
Right.
And that's why I'm saying I'm a psychosocial therapist. And we have to do some psychosocial cognitive restructuring. So in almost all Native and Aboriginal societies, when people allow outsiders with dual allegiances to other nations or ethnic groups to act as their representatives, this ultimately caused the decline of their societies. Source, please. This happened in the 16th century with the Portuguese colonizers, Lancados, married into royal West African families. The mixed race offsprings from they didn't pull out something. We're gonna give you an example here. We're gonna go. The Portuguese colonizers called Lancados, married into royal West African families. The mixed race offsprings from these unions, who were enslaved, elevated to powerful positions, often sided with the European side of their lineage. Now, guess what? People typically, it seems, lost people will side, as FBA does, and a lot of these other groups, wittingly or unwittingly side with the oppressor. Many of us unwittingly do so.
Mhm.
Often sided with the European side of their lineage to ultimately undermine African society and help facilitate the transatlantic slave trade. All right, now, see, you gotta keep it in there. Often sided with the European side of the lineage to ultimately undermine African society and help. Now, I don't have the fact checks or anything on this. We'll look at the information later.
Mhm.
But what I will say is it is media warfare. It doesn't matter whether or not it's true or it's stretched or whatever it is. That's not the point. The point here is it's being used and weaponized in a way to impact your affect, emotions, and to instill certain political positions in you that control your actions. Ideology. The same thing happened to the Native American tribes who allowed this is like you got to put the violin on like Brother Talker be doing. The same thing happened to many Native American tribes who allowed European colonizers to intermarry into their groups and become representatives for them. This was the beginning of the decline of their societies. Oh God, they didn't need to marry in to decline these societies, folk. I can tell you that right now. They didn't have to intermarry. They didn't.
Right.
White people or white settlers, they didn't have to marry into. They didn't have any. They didn't. What do they call it? They didn't hold any. What's the word? Brother Shabazz. Everybody was say it again.
No, go ahead. Everybody was a.
It's kind of like everybody. They didn't really care. There was no. What's the term I'm looking for? It's like no prisoners or what? How did they say it?
No. Ain't no love in war. No, that ain't it.
Well, what I'm trying to say is they didn't really care who you were. If you were in their way, they were going to. They will oppress anybody, and anybody got in their way, they would wipe them out. They didn't really care. It doesn't matter. Like the marrying in part is like a part of the propaganda here. Like they didn't have to marry; they would rape your women. they would rape you. They would rape the men. They didn't have to marry you to do that. In fact, it was illegal at times, and they still was ruling over you. It was illegal to marry in some cases, in spaces and time frames, but they still practice white supremacy. In modern times, in colonization, in modern times, the white establishment deliberately elevates non-FBA or anchored tethers to act as spokespersons and leaders for foundational Black Americans. And the results of this practice has been devastating for FBA. Now, you know, when I read that, I think this is hot. Well, I'm going to say disingenuous like all the rest of the stuff wasn't. But really, like, I'm thinking like all these people that are FBA that are also in power, what do you say about them? What are they doing?
Well, I'm like,
go ahead.
Because that's to some extent that's where they should be putting a little bit more of their energy, their anger and whatnot. Like, you know, we clearly have a track record of a certain, you know, the Congressional Black Caucus, for example, and, you know, Black mayors and Black school board members and whatnot. And a lot of them have not necessarily been fighting the right fight. At least that's the perception. Now, but you do better to say, wait a minute, we need to hold these people accountable. Then start screaming just because, you know, a person with Jamaican ancestry just got elected into the House. Like that's not where your problems stem from. If you got a black mayor and the black mayor ain't never, sided with the community on the community issue, your problem is not the new Jamaican backgrounded mayor. It's the FBA that didn't do nothing.
Yeah, what they're utilizing right now, and I heard that their leaderless has jumped on this situation that just took place in Maryland, or was it Maryland or Baltimore? Maryland. And the governor who vetoed the reparation study bill or what have you,
right?
Who I think he has some Caribbean ancestry, or maybe on one side or another.
Yeah.
So in fact, I heard that, now this, you could correct me if I'm wrong, that FBA said they were against the studies themselves and we needed to take action. And he said something very similar, but he vetoed it to say we don't need any studies. We need to do something, for whatever political reasons why he did it. And they're utilizing that to say, well, look, this tether has stopped he's vetoed the bill to study reparations. And I think from what I've looked at a little, and I could be wrong on this one, is that they, for the most part, think that the study is fruitless as well. But even with that, let's say that they even support that, it doesn't change what I'm about to say.
Okay.
And what I'm about to say is this. So one of the main organizations that fought to overturn that veto, to influence the Black Caucus, was a revolutionary Pan-Africanist group here in Baltimore by the name of Leaders of a Beautiful Struggle. So let me say that again. One of the main groups that's doing major things in the reparations was Leaders of a Beautiful Struggle. You would go and see Davon Love on the Karen Hunter show, and he's explaining how it was overturned. And he will explain that he and his comrades, good brother Lawrence and the sisters and everyone who works with that organization, who do wonderful and beautiful work here in Baltimore on the political front, always down at our state capital, Annapolis, really fighting on behalf of us here, which is another fallacy and myth that Black Pan-Africanists don't do anything here. They don't want to do things here. They're all about saving Africa when everything we do is right here. Because many of us are saying, if you really were a part of the Pan-Africanist movements, you would hear that people say we're not doing enough over there. Most of us do our work right here.
Right.
And we don't, and this, yeah. So without belaboring that point, I'm going to finish this last sentence here. I think, did I finish it already? In modern times, the white establishment deliberately elevates non-FBA or anchored tethers to act as spokespersons and leaders for foundational Black Americans, and the results of their practice has been devastating for FBA. They're putting all the blame on them. For this reason, foundational Black Americans should consider other qualified full FBA representatives to act as spokespersons for the collective interests of the ethnic group. That's how we're going to choose people depending on their ethnicity, not on their policy. What does that sound like? Brother Cuz, what you got for me before we go close on out?
Well, eventually they're going to get themselves into a trick bag, because again, they're operating under the assumption that a full-fledged FBA is always going to side with them.
They already in a trick bag. That's it.
Well, I mean, that's what it is. That's the last statement on there. And so I'm like, again, all you got to do is just start mentioning the full-fledged FBAs who've been in office, who take public stances and positions that are absolutely against the quote-unquote Black community, the FBA community. And it's like, well, Okay. I mean, you can say all of this, but okay, again, Clarence Thomas, since I'm no longer allowed to use Candace Owens, I still got Clarence Thomas. And what's the other Dr. Ben Carson? I still got Dr. Ben Carson. It's full-fledged FBAs, unless somebody come back and correct me again. And their stance, their positions, their public commentary, that the things they've done in political or legislative worlds are all against whatever the basic idea that an FBA says that the FBA is for. They say they're for the reparations. Hey, I'm for reparations. But we got FBAs that have literally blocked reparations. We've got more FBAs that have blocked it than anything else. Aside from white folk, there's been more white people blocking it. Most of the Caribbean or most of the immigrant blacks that are in office have publicly stated and voted for the HR 40 bill. Now they got a problem with the HR 40 bill, but the immigrant blacks said it needs to be moved on to the next level so you can get it done. So the ideology, the definitions, and the cautionary tales in the whole write-up, it still does not cut the mustard of what the reality is. If there's been more FBAs throwing monkey wrenches into the acquisition of reparations, then why are you not talking about them? Why are you talking about the immigrant blacks when they're not the ones that said, I don't want to vote for it? They're not the ones that said, I don't think we deserve it.
Yeah. So it's very interesting. So when the way I like to close this out, because I thank you for taking this ride and helping co-facilitate this lesson today. I do want to say I love my brothers and sisters. I'm going to play another dear ancestor and elder who kind of caps off what I'm going to use it as a cap off to a degree. What Dr. Patricia Newton started off, another student of the mind, African-centered, Pan-Africanist, giant, elder, ancestor, and allow you to help me close this out with a certain type of conceptual point.
You said that racism is a mental disorder.
Yes.
I was interviewing a gentleman the other day, and I brought that up in a conversation, and he said, well, racism is not a mental disorder. He said racism is very ordered. He said that whites, Europeans, know exactly what they're doing, that racism is a political and economic convenience. How do you respond to that?
Well, I think it depends on who you're talking about. If you talk about I think of systems as having designers, as having advocates, as having players, and as having pawns. This is from game theory, and I borrowed that from Bob Williams, who analyzes systems in that way. Everybody is not a game maker or a game designer. So the game designer might be conscious of creating a racist system, whereas the advocate probably becomes unconscious. They buy into the system that was created by the designer. And so the advocate is a racist in the sense that I'm talking about it, or the dealer, those people who carry out the rules of the master in the system without really knowing why the master created the system, or even that a system was created. They just simply inherit a belief system and an action system. And in that sense, they are players in the game, but they are not the game makers. So okay. I make a distinction.
Now break that down for the person on the street one time.
Right.
Go over that again.
So there are some people who are puppets.
All right.
And there are others who are puppeteers.
Thank you. Free your mind.
I'll try to do a better job.
Okay. Free your mind, Rich.
So I didn't catch all the pieces, but this is a clip that I always play. And all ideologies have designers.
Right.
This is an ideology. And there is a primary designer, I would argue, is the one who brought the word forward, the one who has a website and owns the trademark. I would argue that is the one who, I guess, paid somebody or quickly put some stuff on this website, the official FBA.com, I believe it is. Official FBA.com. I would say that they are designers. So I do look at Al-Baba, Dr. Asa G. Hilliard. I think he's speaking in wisdom as a healer. That racism, and you can call FBAism racism, a sub-oppressive version of racism. I'm a social scientist, and what I'm saying, I will write about it because it is a social oppressive. It is a sub-oppressive system of racism. This sub-oppressive system had a designer, and the designer has rallied advocates. These advocates that come to all the videos outside of the bots, because there's bots there as well. You pay for some of them, but then there's others who sign up seemingly willingly, but many times, willingly, because hurt people, I want to hurt somebody else, so let me join the gang. But the advocate might know a little bit more, but don't know as much as the designer, and might be a little confused. But the daggone dealer might not know what's going on at all. The dealer is dealing this mess and putting it out there and saying, "Well, y'all don't understand." And I think that you don't understand. That I understand that you don't understand. And if you think I'm plebiscite babbling, it's letting me know that you shouldn't be having the conversation because you don't understand.
Right.
You don't understand words with more than 2 syllables or maybe 1 syllable. That's not my problem. That's an American racist problem. It undereducated us. There's some good there, perhaps. It's not our language, but there's also some bad because you want to be an advocate for it. You want to be a dealer in it. If you're going to be an advocate and a dealer in it, learn the goddamn language. You're claiming to be American, but you can't speak the language. Stop saying I'm plebiscite babbling because you don't understand higher order reasoning. Because you're an American, a lover of this country. You want the biggest crumbs and the largest piece of fat meat at your avail. And you don't want nobody taking it. You don't want who you call tethers taking it, and those who you have identified as tether adjacent or half FBA. You know what you're doing. I'm not playing games with you. I don't care. I'm not being nice to you because I know you're a fraud. I'm saying I know the designers of these games are frauds. I am conscious that these people are frauds because they switch the name of their movements every 3 years. You can't have new movements every 2 to 3 years. You can't be this person and this person. There's no stability there. And somehow you want me. See, I know personality and I understand how personality works. That is an unstable person. And I'm not following anything that a person like that puts together because it's quite like the president of this United States. He's crazy. He doesn't care. He's a malignant narcissist. And he's a leader of a cult. I'm talking about the president. I'm saying FBA is very adjacent to MAGA on a black level. But let me stop because I know there's those who are dealers who mean well. I'm just trying to give you some info to bring you back home to Mother Africa. And that is how we heal. We heal. I'm not saying you have to be African in Africa or African in Nigeria, or I'm not. Look, you don't even have to take the term. But somehow, what I'm asking you to do is get over the hate and the fear and the trauma that you have for your brothers and sisters over there, even if they haven't gotten over theirs, because there's trauma everywhere. It's enough to go around. And there's traumatized African Americans, traumatized Caribbean Americans, traumatized African Nigerian Americans, and all the other ones. They're traumatized people in all of our groups. And I'm going to do a presentation to show you the data set about all of these groups. And guess what? FBA, you should be clear that you are in the big house. I keep saying it. You're on the big stage in America. Look, I know you think that you're just extra special than all the other brothers and sisters. No, you are in the big house. You will get more attention than all the other ones in the field. You're in the big house. And when you're in the big house, there is a certain level of hate because you get to wear the good clothes and put on the monkey suit. And we are in the big house. So you got to give some grace for those who are hating, because you are in the big house on the big stage. But do not misuse the stage. Be the spook that's sat by the door. Stop misusing the stage and taking the power of your oppressor to oppress our other Black African people. Brother Proper, I know you got something. I see it.
All I'm going to say is the fear of being African, FBA, comes from more than anything else. It comes from the fear that the crumbs that's supposed to be coming down the pipe from reparations won't go to us if we don't do this delineation, this lineage purity reclassification thing. And I'm just like, look, at the end of the day, all of the legislation is already in place. All of those fears, you're fearing something that can't happen because the legislation is already written in such a way to protect that thing from happening. So you're upset. It's much ado about nothing. You know, if reparations comes, it's coming to the people that are the descendants of the slave plantations in America. That's all there is to it. So you don't have that fear, although it's rooted in you. It's your rallying call, but it's already been taken care of. You know, the puppet masters, when you start playing into these games of divide and conquer, that's exactly what it is. When you feel justified in separating and splitting various groups within the race or the culture or etc., you're playing the game of divide and conquer. That's all there is to it. They used to have to train. They used to have to go out and find some Black people and train them to come in and infiltrate. But now, you know, with the likes of Tariq Nasheed, they don't even have to train him anymore. They just got him to do it, and now he got minions that's just doing it for free.
Brother Proper. I want to hear about the ideology.
You want to hear about the ideology? Again, the ideology is it's a formal, systemized set of beliefs. You know, they have the beliefs, and you know, we've been talking about them and review them on the website. They like to say in the chat that it's not an ideology, but you can't have anything political, like you were saying. It's a political movement.
And
You can't have a political movement without a set of ideologies.
right.
We hold these truths to be self-evident.
And it goes back to what you're saying, even the fear is being perpetuated by the ideology. All that you said. There's already some fear inside of us, but then the ideology creates and re-triggers and brings about more fear.
Because it's more formal. It's like it's laid out, you know, it's laid out and it's spelled out, so it makes you feel as though someone is giving voice to what you thought, to what you was afraid was happening, to what you feared might occur. And so then when somebody gives you that voice, that validates your fear. I knew it was something. I couldn't put my finger on it, but I knew it was something. That's what it is. They right. We need to fight.
Let me hit this for you because I think it kind of was befitting of where you was going.
That's some social cultural we sick boss. So for them to attack, first of all, no humane, sane person respects the territorial integrity of an empire. Imperial nations deserve no territorial integrity. So you can't be mad about people, quote unquote, illegally immigrating, invading, or trespassing on the territory of an imperialist nation. Now, I don't care if it's the United States, Europe, Australia.
Then I always want to go to some elders. I'm going to close out with two elders. Just let them.
All cultures condition the people that belong to them. All cultures ultimately must have some means of rewarding and punishing behavior. And that's another thing we don't want to face, you know. We want everybody to do right just because it means doing right. And this is what I said earlier when we talk about these conspiracies and the boule. You're not going to win this game if you don't have a means of neutralizing people and rewarding people.
And yes, sir. That's a good reminder because we just want to get along. But the reality is sometimes they got to get that work. And Brother Proper, you got any closing words? Because I'm going to let the mama close us out how she started us. But you got any closing words?
Make sure everybody in the chat hit the like button, share these channels, and keep the comments coming. That's all I'm going to say. We gonna let's hear from the elder.
Let's hear from the elder and family. Let mama close us out how she started us. Okay. I think oh, is this it? That's not it. So did I take it off the stage?
Physical, psychological, spiritual, and emotional enslavement. And so we have been traumatized, and trauma has an effect upon the mind, the body, and the spirit. And so when they talk about post-traumatic, it's like almost post-traumatic stress disorder. People still have the remnants of being traumatized. And for us, for Africans in the Americas, North and South America, and maybe throughout the entire diaspora, we have been victimized to the degree that many of us want to deny it and abandon it, which is a defense mechanism of post-traumatic slavery stress disorder, in that we oftentimes are unable to manage it. And so when we're unable to manage it, we take the position of putting it somewhere else, denying that it ever happened, and wanting to move on. But you can't move on because the remnants of the victimization have been passed on from generation to generation. We have intergenerational trauma. And so some of the ways that we have learned to cope has been passed on from that time to this time, and will go into some other time, because we've never been without trauma. Part of the problem is that it's not really post for us. It's still present for us. And we're experiencing complex compound trauma, where we're being traumatized up on top of the trauma, up on top of the trauma.
Tell us about examples of that trauma that impacts our daily lives. What do we see?
Well, the language we use, some of us don't even like to be called African. I don't know how much trauma you can get when you're denying who you really are.
When you claim you're African, you're going to get your mind
and some
back.
of us begin to look at each other as though we're the enemy,
When you
rather
claim your
than
Africanness, you're going to get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Claim your Africanness. Black and I'm proud. I'm telling you. When you claim your Africanness, you're going to get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Claim your Africanness. Black and I'm proud. I'm telling you. When you claim your Africanness, you're going to get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Claim your Africanness. Black and I'm proud. I'm telling you. Become a part of it. Embrace it. 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 When you claim your Africanness, you're going to get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Claim your Africanness. Black and I'm proud. I'm telling you. When you claim your Africanness, you're going to get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Claim your Africanness. Black and I'm proud. I'm telling you.